Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I am exploring what does it mean when you're feeling stressed. And I think it can take us on a real journey internally, that in terms of our thinking, can't it? Where if we're seeking the reason why we feel stressed. And I think it kind of, for me, it works in a kind of layering process. So there's the outside, first of all, and that is what I call the world out there. You know, that we know that's outside us, don't we? And in some cases we might have a sense that yes, that's the outside world, it's separate from me. But we might believe that the outside world can be creating our stress. And I speak to a lot of people who are, well, it's like they're playing that game where the heads pop up. Whack-a-mole, I think it used to be called, but I don't think they call it whack-a-mole anymore because it's a bit cruel to moles. But back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, the heads would bob up and you would have to hit them with a hammer. And so people will chase stress reduction, I suppose, or relief from their stress by changing things in the outside world that they can change. Because, of course, there's an awful lot of things in the outside world we can't change, aren't there? An awful lot of them. But they will, they might move jobs. That's one thing people do. They might change partners. They might, I had a conversation with somebody once who'd been advised by a coach to move country. I mean, that, like, if you're living in the outside in paradigm, moving house is like a bit of an undertaking, isn't it? But moving country to evade stress, that is huge, isn't it? It's massive. And what I'm not saying is don't ever make a change. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is take note of your state of mind when you are making decisions, especially big life-changing ones. So that's the first place. And that kind of trying to control the outside world, I would say, pretty much was why I burnt out. I was a total control freak. I really wanted all sorts of things to be different. So that meant that I had a lot of things to do, and B, I had a lot of things on my mind, because there were things I could plot and plan to change, of course, but then there were other things in life that I couldn't do anything about, particularly other people and how they behaved. And so there was a lot of frustration that came with that, the sense that, well, I'm a victim of these awful people and how they behave, and I can't have a nice experience in life, and I'm feeling stressed because they're not behaving as I would like them to behave. So that's what you call the outside, is where you absolutely believe that circumstances, people's behaviour, the situation you're in right now, the place you live, the job you're in, whatever else is creating stress. And that it's exhausting trying to manage all of that to try and make yourself feel better. And if you're trying that right now, don't carry on, please. Do reach out, do have a conversation with somebody. I'd love you to have a conversation with me, but there are lots of other people who can help you not spend the rest of your life moving countries to try and avoid stress. So that's the first thing. That's the outside, outside. Now, the next thing I call the kind of outside, inside bit, because the next place we might look for what it means when we're feeling stressed is we might look at ourselves. So, I need to work on myself. I'm not resilient enough. I'm not confident enough. I'm not doing enough stress management techniques or whatever. So that's the other place we look. Well, I've got to learn better to manage. I've got to be better. I should be better at this. And I hear that probably more so than the outside bit, because I think an awful lot of people are starting to get a handle on, oh, there's something about me because I keep changing my circumstances and I still feel stressed or I still don't feel as I want to feel. So there must be something about me. So then there's all that, and I spoke about this recently where I said, I searched stress management techniques on the internet and I got, I think it was 1,400,000,000 and something million results. It's insane to think that that's the way to manage this situation or to deal with stress, shall we say, or I don't know, to find relief from stress is probably what I'm trying to point to, because I don't want you to think you have to deal with it or manage it. So that's what, that's the next place we go to when we're looking for what does it mean when I feel stressed. We look to our, our us and what we need to do about us. And then, the other piece that often comes into that is, is the past. I have a lot of conversations where people think that they need to go and deal with something in the past. Folks, I will stop you right there. The past doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. There's nothing to go and deal with. That's your thinking playing tricks on your thinking, which is just a really dark tunnel to go down. There is nothing in the past. Now, I am not denying that your conditioned thinking is a product of your past. Absolutely, of course it is. But that's what we're talking about. We're trying to, if you're feeling stressed, you're trying to get some relief in this moment. You're dealing with what's happening now. And what's happening now is that your thinking, your consciousness, your awareness, and the fact that you're an alive being are combining together to create your experience of life. Most of us don't understand how that works. So we have a distorted relationship with the feeling of stress. We have a distorted relationship with our thinking. We misunderstand what it all means. And so that's why all those tools and techniques to manage stress look like a good idea, because in the illusion, they are a good idea. They look like a good idea. It looks like there's something to do. And where I'm pointing to really is that, like anything in life, once you understand the principles underpinning your human experience, life just gets easier. So one of the metaphors or analogies I use for this is people learning to fly. You've all watched those hysterical videos. I have no doubt people did get injured. I'd love to say they didn't, but those black and white videos of people who tried to fly. Man for a long time has been trying. It was mostly men, I have to tell you, ladies. I know we have some famous women aviators, but in terms of those first people who were trying to fly, it was mostly the men. I have this amusing idea the women were sitting there going, "What are you doing?" But anyway, we can watch these funny videos and laugh at people falling about and hope they weren't too badly injured. And they never learned to fly because they were missing the principles of flight, which I'm not going to totally remember. I think there's 5, but it's gravity, lift, thrust, momentum, maybe. Anyway, it's a physicsy thing. I do have a physics A level, but it's evading me right now. So there are principles of flight. And until human beings, mostly men, knew the principles of flight, there was no flight. Now, once the principles of flight were understood, there are rows, aren't there? Arguments all over the world about who invented flight first. Well, it just was that at similar times all over the world, through experimentation and trying and failing and, looking at the science of it, eventually these principles of flight were uncovered. And then the design of an aeroplane came with ease. And before very long, from that first flight, then, flight took off really rapidly and became something that we all take for granted really now, don't we? And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about principles of psychology, which we haven't had. Psychology has been a conversation, a discussion, an experiment really all this time. But there are some truths about all of us that are fundamental, and that's what's creating your experience. And once you understand, it's simple, you can fly. Your life is different. And I don't want anybody else to be waiting and falling about like those people learning to fly, because suffering is being created through this misunderstanding of where our feelings are coming from. So what does it mean when you're feeling stressed? It means you're misusing the power of thought. You're setting off a system that was created to get you away from a saber-toothed tiger. You're booting up a system that's not meant to be booted up when you've got a lot of emails and a mardy boss. That's it. It's a thought-created experience. Well, the combination of these three powers, thought, mind, and consciousness. You're thinking, you're alive, you're conscious. And together, that's how your experience is being created. And you might be thinking, she's a crackpot. She's fine. But please, if you're thinking that, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Please do reach out. Don't wait. And do get your hands on my 5 simple truths to take you closer to calm, which will be somewhere around here, wherever you're watching this or listening to it. There will be a link to the 5 simple truths to take you close to calm. Just put your toe in the water and see if you can experience more calm just from that. Nobody needs to suffer the way people are suffering at the moment. It's enough's enough, let's say. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, however through it you are. Take care and lots of love. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.